Good morning. Good morning, Moonhaven Falls. This is Audrick Cashmere bringing you the morning news, and I... oh, blast it all.
Audrick, why don't you hand me the slate? You're going through enough without having to fight a voice change on the airwaves.
I am a broadcasting professional. Timmy, I can handle a little developmental fluctuation.
And nobody doubts that, Audrick. But we're all having to adapt this morning, right? No shame in asking for a little help when we're not at our best.
Fine. Here.
Welcome to the Morning Report, listeners. As you can likely tell from the sound of our station manager, the static today seems to be having a strong temporal effect. It has, in fact, settled across Moonhaven in a rather uneven fashion. We've decided to press onward in the hope that it passes like the previous events have, but in the meantime, please bear with us.
I am sitting on 2 cushions and can still barely speak into the crystal. I forgot how annoying it was to be a tween.
Reports are coming in from across the valley that citizens are finding themselves visiting, or revisiting, different stages of life. The most notable disturbance occurred early this morning at the castle. It would appear that a maid raised a panic after discovering what she believed to be the ancient, lifeless body of Lord Kendrick in his chambers.
Is he all right?
He is in fact fine, Audrick. Her screaming roused the lord, who, upon realizing he had suddenly aged to his 80s, immediately began grumbling about his severe brucitis and the utter lack of consideration from young whippersnappers to wake a man at such a ridiculously early hour. He is currently resting his left hip and demanding hot tea.
Well, at least no one has actually died of old age, as far as we can tell anyway. Have we heard from the guild quarter?
It would appear that Alara Meadowlight is currently a late tween as well. I'm told she has completely abandoned her divination scroll and scholarly duties for the morning, and is currently raiding her own tower, marveling at all the cool and shiny stuff she has collected over the past 4 decades. Meanwhile, it would appear her daughter Selene has aged into a sweet grandmotherly woman in her late 80s. No one in the tower has gotten a lot of actual work done because they're too busy letting her feed them fresh pastries and having a small chat. It appears no one has had the heart to disappoint her.
Well, that's horrible. I mean, sounds lovely, but more than a little chaotic. What about the town guard head, Alara Vancroft?
Alara appears to be pushing a gravelly-voiced 120. She's currently standing at the south gate near the parade ground, shouting at the recruits with a voice that sounds like a grinding stone. From what I hear, guard discipline has never been higher. Something about breaking you all over my knee if you snot-nosed little brats can't follow simple instructions.
Ha! Unbelievable! Everyone else gets authority or pastries, and I get an octave change every 3 words.
You're doing great, kid. Just hang in there. The Fated are universally perfectly frozen, immobile, and apparently involatile statues, which have been stuck doing whatever they were doing at the stroke of midnight. Their town, however, appears to be doing the pencil sketch thing they were doing last week, except, of course, that the town is jumping between a futuristic, fortified metropolis, a burnt or burning ruin, and the refugee camp that they started with. People are understandably avoiding it. Anyway, that's the morning news, so let's jump over to the apparently unaffected Morwin Brightscene with the Dungeon Delvers report, while we see if we can make this just a little easier for you. Alright, boss?
Yeah, okay.
This is Timmy Thistlewick, filling in for the temporarily disassociated Audrick Cashmere. We're keeping you informed here on the Crystal Network.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Morwin Brightscene with the Dungeon Delvers report. Now, before we hit the regional locations, we must address a rather alarming phenomena reported by returning scout teams from across 3 different territories. It would appear a concerning number of bandit bands, monstrous chieftains, and subterranean warlords have acquired or salvaged dropped crystal receivers over the past few months. As a result, they are apparently listening, and in fact, getting featured on this very report has apparently become a point of pride and prestige among the so-called monstrous community. As a consequence, the dungeon dwellers are actively upping their game, setting more elaborate traps, organizing patrols, staging territorial displays specifically to earn a resurgent rating or a spot on this broadcast. So, If a dungeon seems unusually theatrical or aggressive, you can apparently thank our broadcast footprint, though as a consolation, the loot on offer apparently is scaling apace with the increased difficulty. Regardless, however, proceed with extra caution. Now, to begin with, we conclude our coverage of the glass towers of Kronos Keep as the temporal shifts completely sail off the complex for the next year. The final group has finally dragged themselves across the threshold, the legendary Diamond Rank Adventuring Company, the Sun-Shattered Shield. They are beaten, they are bloody, they are battered and barely clinging to life. They had originally planned to pitch camp in the entry atrium for a full week of subjective time to scope out the lower vaults in comfort. Instead, it would appear that they were subjected to a relentless, non-stop series of waves of temporal phantoms that attacked every time anyone tried to sleep. Drained of spell slots, out of healing draughts, and suffering from catastrophic physical exhaustion, they have barely escaped alive. That being said, despite the horror, they did not leave empty-handed. They have successfully extracted the Kronos Dial, a mythic-level artifact capable of reversing a single mortal mistake made within the last 48 hours. The local Arcanist Guild has already placed a staggering 500,000 gold piece valuation on this item. Up next, it would appear that deep in the volcanic foothills of the Western Iron Crags, we have our first official broadcast-inspired challenge. The abandoned Dwarven Foundry is now officially resurgent. The resident hobgoblin warlock, Jarek the Ironjaw, has somehow gotten his hands on a broadcasting crystal, heard our report from several weeks ago about the Rustbite Foundry, and took offence at not being mentioned himself. He has spent the last fortnight fortifying the upper furnace floors with steam-driven heavy crossbows and molten slag traps, and has issued a direct challenge to all silver rank or higher parties: breach his front gate, or admit the Iron Crags belong to him. The local mining syndicate is offering 1,200 gold coins to anyone who can knock Garrick off his high horse and reopen the coal routes. Moving on, checking back in with the endless forests of the verdant wilds, where the situation in the upper boughs appears to have taken a turn. The condition of this location is still officially uncleared. The chameleon stalkers mentioned in previous reports have proven far more aggressive than anticipated. The mercenary unit sent to collect their eggs was completely routed when the alpha stalkers began using coordinated pack-hunting tactics across the sky bridges. We recommend that anyone attempting a follow-up bring smoke bombs or alchemical flare chalk. If you can't break the camouflage before they hit your rearguard, you definitely will not make it back to the lower trunk alive. Travelling far into the higher passes of the northern mountains, we have a newly logged hazard for traders and delvers alike. A sudden thaw has exposed the entrance of an ancient frost giant burial ground which is now overrun with frost troll berserkers. The cold air here is so severe that mundane steel weapons risk snapping on impact. We do recommend your frontline fighters are equipped with fire-infused oil or dwarf-forged tempered iron for their blades. Standard blades have been known to split like glass against these creatures' frozen hides. Finally, an update from the Brackish Delta along the eastern coast. We have a partial success. An independent team of rogue archaeologists has successfully breached the outer water gate and recovered several chests of pristine copper coinage and antique astrological maps. They have, however, accidentally triggered a steam pressure lock that flooded the main avenue with boiling swamp water. The lower vaults are now completely submerged and scalding hot, and will require specialized thermal gear or fire-resistant wards to navigate. This has been Morwin Brightscene. Remember to clear a path, watch your flank, and try not to get eaten. Also, keep updated on the goings-on here on the Crystal Network.
Good afternoon, Moonhaven Falls. This is Ignis, the Scaled Sophisticate. To begin with, I would like to apologize for my unseemly
Attention, residents of the plateau and the surrounding valley. I am taking this time slot for a very important public announcement.
We are still here! We will not rest until we have reclaimed all of the delicious blueberry scones!
We mean, former glory of the plateau. Word has reached a high plateau that a certain Lady F, who definitely does not sound like much of a lady, and who we are definitely not terrified of, is hunting the big boss.
Like, the boss just wants her to know that he has no fear of her. Like, none at all. And he'll seek her out personally, like, when he gets around to it. Possibly after he has reclaimed his rightful place at the right hand of the throne.
And she should definitely leave the valley as soon as he possibly can to avoid the Wizarding Gnome's righteous wrath. And he is definitely extremely wrathful and not currently going about his day in reverse due to the weird magic static. Yes, he's walking forward very menacingly, and not at all yelling profanities in dead tongues in front of the screaming, formerly whispering caves, because of the mean things the echoes are shouting at him.
No more comments! For the gnome! On to glory!
Forward to seeing your comments. Timmy can handle it, I'm sure. Until the mana settles again. Farewell.
Oh, well, hello there, my dears. Welcome, gather round, Moonhaven Falls. You're listening to, what do we call it, Audrick, sweetie? The magic hour?
The magic minute, Selene.
Oh, of course, darling, the magic minute. My, it has been quite a week at the Arcane Academy now, hasn't it? Magic static still hovering over the valley like a heavy wool quilt. Seems to be picking on everyone this week. Faculty, students, even those poor, sweet underclassmen. Now, some silly child started a rumor, or maybe a little theory, that if you channel enough magic quickly enough, you can push right through the static and permanently increase your spellcasting power. Oh, bless their little hearts. So completely wrong, of course. You'll just hurt your little heads and crystallize your fingernails. The dean, who's currently about 6 years old, bless the boy, announced this morning that maybe we can look into fixing the static after a story time and a nap. The preteen casters just cheered so loudly, and those geriatric third years just gave them the sweetest, most indulgent smiles. I foresee much warm milk and fresh cookies following that announcement. After all, dear, everyone needs their rest. And speaking of sweet treats, the artifact of the day is something truly special. I made it myself just this morning, the perfect bake cookie sheet. Now, this lovely little piece of kitchen enchantment magically senses any cookie dough you place on its surface, automatically bakes up to 15 cookies to absolute golden perfection. You don't even need an oven. And even better, my dears, it keeps the cookies warm and soft and fresh for as long as they sit on the tray. Audrick, sweetie, could you pass me that tray from the desk? Yes, the chocolate chip ones. Oh, do make sure to take one for yourself now.
Right, thank you, Selene. Now turning to the inflexible threads. Today we're scheduled to discuss the law of energy drain and chronomancy. Let me say the entire category of reality is completely illogical catastrophe. I mean, first, level drain. How can a wight or undead simply drain a person's hard-earned combat experience, huh? Experience is accumulated knowledge. It's muscle memory and tactical instinct. You can't just suck 5 years of swordsmanship training out of a man's soul like you're drinking milk from a cup. And second, chronomancy. I mean, time travel, right? Wizards claim you can manipulate temporal flow, speed up seconds, even step back into the past, but it's just impossible. A fundamental violation of casualty alone would rip the universe to confetti, right? If you alter the cause, the effect collapses. The timeline ain't a piece of string you can tie in a bow. Well, Selene, how did the cosmic architects justify tearing apart casualty?
Eh? I'm sorry, what was that, dear? Chrono something? Chronomancy?
Time travel, Selene. I was talking about time travel and losing life experience.
Oh, Oh, that's nice, dear. Sounds very complicated for a Saturday afternoon, though. Would you like a warm cookie? You look so thin, Audrick. Are you eating enough at that station?
I am not eating enough, no. Thank you, Selene, and the cookie is actually incredible. Lightly crunchy on the outside and perfectly soft in the middle.
See, dear, everything's much nicer when you have a pastry. Well, rest your tired mind, Moonhaven, and eat a sweet treat. Maybe take a lovely little afternoon nap, and don't try to push through that static. That's a bad idea. This has been the, oh yes, the Magic Minute. Welcome to you, timeless sovereign princes and eternal wardens. A slightly dizzy bow to the chronomancers and the page boys. A warm wave to the clockmakers, the temporal weavers, and the citizens of all walks of life and all walks of time, here in the Lost Realms. Welcome back to Crossroads Chronicles. I am your host for the day, Barnaby Buttercup, standing in for Audrick, who is currently, well, let's just say he's currently 3 years younger than he was this morning, and still aging backwards. Fortunately, thanks to these cold iron cuffs I've been wearing on my wrists all week, I've only lost about 2 decades myself. My knees feel fantastic, though my trousers are terribly baggy. And despite the local temporal distortions rippling through the valley, our guest today has his boots planted firmly in the present. Hailing from the Arcane Academy, please welcome a dwarf who is breaking every traditional mold, Master Sorcerer Thrain Coppervein.
Why, thank you, Barnaby. And if I may say, you do wear those cuffs with remarkable style, even if that outfit does make you look a bit like a 40-year-old in your grandfather's suit.
Well, I'm just glad I haven't shrunk back down to my teething phase, Thrain. Now let's talk magic, shall we? When most people think Dwarven spellcasters, they picture the traditional runesmiths or the holy clerics of the forge. Sorcery, innate raw bloodline magic, is often scoffed at by your kin. They call it a cheat.
Oh, aye. Lazy magic, me uncle calls it. Born with a spoon in your mouth, no respect for the hard labour. Though, to be completely fair, when I was younger, I had thought sorcery a bit of a cheat myself. You feel the magic in your veins, you flex a muscle you were born with and just fireball. But I am here today to set the record straight for me fellow dwarves and the wider public. There is a way to do it right, and that is anything but lazy.
Oh, how so? How does a sorcerer bridge the gap between raw talent and actual mastery?
Why, by doing the hard, tedious, dangerous work, Barnaby. By codifying what we intuitively feel, experimenting with the literal currents of magic, rather than just riding them like a wild beast. At the Academy, I work hand in hand with the wizarding faculty, you know. When they prepare to ritually cast a brand new, unrefined spell, I stand in the circle with them.
You act as a living safety valve.
Precisely, Barnaby, precisely. Because I can feel the flow of magic directly through me own body, I can streamline their formulae, fine-tune the weave on the fly, as it were, or, more importantly, shout for the spell to be aborted the second the field starts to go haywire. It takes an immense discipline, endless study, and a willingness to burn your own eyebrows off for the sake of magical science, but it is a worthy goal for any spellcasting class, and I am proud of the sweat and blood I have poured into me craft.
That sounds like exhausting high-stakes work. Speaking of high stakes and spells going haywire, I understand you have a rather specific and personal message you would like to deliver on the air today.
Yes, well, I would like to use this platform to formally, publicly, and deeply apologize to Professor Brightstone.
Oh? Is this regarding the, recent administrative shift in the Academy?
Indeed. I used to grumble terribly about how strict the professor was about his protocols, but to see now he was entirely correct. Running the college as its new dean is a fitting and deeply ironic punishment for anyone who would dare to work on new magic without the proper oversight.
A hard-learned lesson. And how is the professor currently?
Professor Brightstone,
I wish you a speedy recovery back to your proper, dignified age, and I would humbly and respectfully request that while you are currently reduced in size and demeanor to a much younger man, would you please stop playing with the spell matrices in the facility lounge? We cannot afford another temporal loop, sir. Please turn the glowing runes off.
Well, I think that's a message the entire town can get behind. Master Thrain, thank you for setting the record straight, and thank you for keeping our wizards from blowing up the valley.
Ha! The pleasure were mine, Barnaby, and keep those iron cuffs on tight.
Will do. That was Thrain Coppervein, proving even bloodline magic takes a whole lot of Dwarven elbow grease. You're listening to the Crossroads Chronicles here on the Crystal Network.
Hiya.
Welcome back, Moonhaven Falls. As we approach the end of today's broadcast, our situation here at the station has, evolved a little bit. Station manager Audrick Cashmere appears to have regressed a bit further down the timeline and is currently enjoying a chew toy in the floorboards. You're doing great, boss. Very insightful. Now, for our final piece of news today, we are receiving widespread reports regarding the Fated. Across the valley, those frozen statues have suddenly begun animating with a sharp, loud snapping sound. Everyone who has unfrozen appears to be completely fine. As a matter of fact, they now appear to be fully in tune with our world. No more pencil sketch lines, no time skipping or fading, no phasing through solid objects. However, in every single verified case, witnesses report seeing a massive, translucent, four-armed crystalline being appearing right before the snap, usually muttering loudly, psychically, about dimensional contamination and unlicensed reality overlaps. It seems that
Stupid reality anchor points. Stupid dimensional containment. If I have to scrub one more timeline. Wait a minute. How in the infinite universes am I back in this world again? This sector was cleared cycles ago, unless... Carry the 7 to create the temporal axis along the null... Oh! It would appear I missed a decimal place on the anchor seal and left the entire sector running on a half-second delay loop. Oops.
And make sure you tell them about the... Timmy! I'm standing upright! My clothes fit again!
And you quit babbling too, boss. Hey! My voice is back to normal. Aw, so is my body. Having all those muscles and that deep baritone voice was kinda nice.
Yes, well, it appears the, dimensional contamination has been rectified by our four-armed friend. Sounds like the Fated are whole, the town is stationary, and my, and presumably everyone else's, ages have returned to their proper resonant frequencies.
You're pretty cute as a baby, Mr. Cashmere. Very cooperative.
And we shall never speak of the chew toy, Timmy. Ever.
Fair enough.
And with that, Moonhaven Falls, we bring another eventful day to a close. Stay safe, keep your boots dry, and remember to double-check your decimals. This is Audrick Cashmere.
And Timmy Thistlewick.
Signing off for the Crystal Network.
Good day, everyone.
Thank you for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate you pulling up a chair for this week's tales, but sadly, this brings us to the close of another broadcast. Brand new episodes arrive every Tuesday morning at 5 a.m. Eastern, and I truly hope that today's journey into our world was kooky, eccentric, and wonderfully fanciful. If you enjoyed it, please take a quick second to subscribe or follow the podcast. It makes a huge impact. If you have another moment to spare, please leave a rating, share the show with a friend or a community. It's the absolute best way to help us tame the algorithm and ensure that these stories keep reaching your receivers. As always, I personally create, record, edit, and produce the entire show, with the occasional wonderful guest appearance from my wife and children. So if you'd like to send us a little extra encouragement by way of a monthly cup of coffee or bottle of lemonade, you can find a link to do that in the description. We would be deeply grateful for the support. As you no doubt noticed, Ignis's daily challenge was interrupted this week, and you can imagine, I'm sure, how excited he's going to be about that next week. So unfortunately, no riddles for this week, but we'll get back to him next week.
To all of our supporters, my family and I would like to thank you from the bottom of our hearts for tuning in every week. I look forward to catching up with you in the comments, and I hope you'll join us again next Tuesday. Until then, take care.